Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a scene for Living World of Darkness Vampire venue. Tonight, the scene is set at the underground bunker where um, Nikki is kind of inspecting the new gun that she has, and guns are a little foreign to her. She um, has never really used one, and she's not really, so she doesn't have a lot of experience. But now she's found herself with this gun, and she figures it would probably be a good idea to learn how to use it. So the first person that she thinks of that she knows how to use one is Arthur. So she's looking for him to ask him some questions.
Somewhere. She knows that Arthur, sometimes during the day, not during the day because he's a fucking vampire, during the sort of working hours of the vampiric evening, uses a different room, which is like an office, somewhere down the bunker, which is most likely where he is at this time of day. Night. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. It's fine. No worries. So she doesn't carry the gun with her. She's just going to leave it in the area that they have been sleeping in. She's going to go and knock on the door.
When you knock on the door, as soon as you get close to the door, you can hear music. It's Nicki Minaj. Checking. It's it's not Nicki Minaj.
Arthur listens to Nicki Minaj, really.
It would be really funny if it was. No, it's something like Mozart's String Concerto.
Yes, that sounds more like him.
Yeah, and did you knock on the door, or?
Yes, she's knocking on the door.
He opens the door. He leans across to open the door, but then goes back to what he's doing. He's stripped off into his waistcoat, and his waistcoat's undone, and his shirt sleeves are rolled up. And he's got a pen in his mouth, and his hair sort of tousled over his face as he seems to be drawing something with a pencil, mechanical pencil.
So my sound cut out during the first part of that.
He's sort of in the middle of his work, so he's got his waistcoat undone, his shirt's unbuttoned, his sleeves are rolled up, and he's like got a pencil in between his teeth, and he's drawing something.
Did he say that she could come in?
Yeah, he opened the door.
Okay. Oh, he opened the door.
He reached across and opened the door, and then went back to what he was doing.
So she comes in, and she shuts the door behind her. Good evening, Arthur.
He almost seems surprised that it's Nikki, like, because he totally wasn't paying attention to it. Was at the door. He just opened it. Probably expecting it to be the regent or somebody coming in to get a book. So he just sort of opened the door to let them go about the business. And when he sees that it's Nikki, he looks surprised, turns around, takes the pencil out of his mouth. Oh, Nikki, good evening.
It looks like I probably caught you at a bad time. I can come back later.
No. It's fine. I was just drawing. Never a bad time. He smiles. Puts the pencils in the back in the drawer. Turns around to face her.
I was wondering if you might be willing to help me with something.
Of course. I do apologize for my appearance, by the way. How
She's not bothered.
He seems sort of like worried. He just goes, "Oh, how undashed of me." He sort of like does. He sort of looks at the undone buttons and sort of does one up, and looks around for his tie, which seems to be absent, and he doesn't know where it is.
She just grins. She thinks it's cute to see him flustered about his appearance.
What can I help you with?
Well, a couple of nights ago, I went out to check in some locations with some people for Theodore, and we found some guns. I think they said that they're assault rifles, and I kept one of them, and then so I'd kind of like to know how it works. And you seemed to know what you were doing with the gun, so I figured I'd ask.
Well, I'm flattered that you would come to me, and not one of our manly, brawny chaps like Alec or somebody.
Well, I prefer your company. And she smiles.
You see him sort of. He puts his. You see his tongue sort of go to one of his teeth inside his mouth as he smiles. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Yes. He reaches over and rolls up the piece of paper that he was drawing on, and puts it away. And then he says, "Well, how about you show me where this gun is, and I'll see what I can do."
So she leads you back to the room and pulls it out from under stuff.
Under stuff, a safe place to keep a gun.
Yes, under stuff.
Just wondering what stuff now. How much stuff does she have? Arthur takes the gun. He picks it up and sort of seems to sort of expertly check it. He sort of just. Well, actually, first of all, he takes his waistcoat off, and then he picks up the gun and he just sort of checks it. I'm doing a motion with my hand, which you obviously can't see because I don't have my camera on, so I don't know why I'm doing it. But he picks it up and he just sort of runs his hand along it. He checks the barrel. He checks the things that British people don't know about guns, but I do in character.
Yes.
Yeah, he basically makes it safe, checks it, and looks it over.
He does all of the things.
He does all of the things with his naughty firearms.
Yes. She just watches him.
It's a serviceable weapon. You must be careful about how you store it down here. Make sure that the safety is on and that it's not prone to be knocked and kicked over and go off, you know. Especially as your bedfellow may not like to be shot in the middle of the night.
No, I suppose not. I definitely wouldn't want that to happen.
There are many better ways to be woken up than being shot. I assure you.
No.
So have you used... I've seen you use a gun before, I'm pretty sure. Or have you?
Oh, did I cut out again?
He says, have you used a gun before?
No. No, I haven't.
Well, the principles are pretty simple. And he'll bring over the gun to her. I'll sort of hand it to her gently.
She'll take it.
Okay, so this is the safety. Make sure it's off before you try and fire. Points to where the safety is. And he sort of clicks it on and off to show her how it clicks on and off.
Okay.
And then he walks up behind her, and he puts his hands underneath her arms to show her how to hold the gun. So he positions her hands on the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And the butt of the rifle up into her shoulder. So he's just sort of stood behind her at this point, with his arms wrapped around her.
Nice.
Having to bend a little because he's much taller than she is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, by almost a foot.
Yeah. And he shows her how to hold the rifle, and he says, "Well, when you're ready to fire, you take your time and you squeeze. You don't pull. You never pull. It's gentle squeeze. Gotta be gentle with these things."
That's good to know. I'm sure it's going to have some sort of a kickback. I mean, I've heard about that stuff before.
Were we not in such close quarters, I would take you to fire it properly.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure that can be arranged. I'm sure it has a little bit of a kick, but nothing a woman of your fortitude couldn't handle.
She smiles. Yeah. I'm sure that I probably could handle it.
You strike me as the type of person that can handle a great manner of things.
Thank you. I certainly try. Handled a lot.
He realizes that maybe he's sort of extended the amount of time that he needed to be.
She's enjoying it, so she's not
he sort of, in his own mind, sort of realizes that he's sort of, huddled into her at this point. And he pulls away, but very slowly. And moves around so he's in front of her.
She puts the gun down. She makes sure that the safety is on, just like he taught her, and she puts the gun down.
Perhaps in time, when you're better with the weapons, I can make you one of your own.
That would be lovely.
He picks up his own pistol from the bedside table. Sort of spins the barrel. It's not got the bullets in it at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer a revolver myself.
I'm sure that I'd probably do a bit better with something smaller, but these were there for the taking, so we took them.
Yeah. It's been I don't know. It's been a very trying couple of weeks, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been sort of a whirlwind for me. I went from leading it's not really normal, but a very different life to, well, she looks around. All in just a couple of weeks, so.
From what I gather from other people's scenes, everybody else has moved into their own rooms by now. So I'm guessing. So I'm guessing that, like every scene I've watched, everyone says that they've got their own rooms. So I'm guessing that everybody else has gone into their own rooms. Um, Arthur certainly doesn't do any rituals in here. He doesn't do any studying in here. But he seems to have not been so eager to move out. So it's just sort of both of their beds on either side of the room at this point.
Yes.
And he gets up and closes the door because there's quite a lot of people milling about, walking. I say there's probably about 30 or 40 vampires down here at this point. People it's not that big of a space. So people are sort of milling around the outside, and he doesn't really particularly want people to eavesdrop on their conversation. Not that they're talking about anything private, but he doesn't like being eavesdropped on, really.
Mm-hmm.
He sits down on his bed and he sort of pats the space next to him.
She'll sit down next to him.
Yeah, well, considering that this is my first time I've been away from home as such, it's makes me wonder, whether I was sent here for a reason.
She smiles. I've always been kind of a believer that everything happens for a reason, so.
I hope so.
Even when things don't go your way, there's some sort of lesson behind it.
I haven't exactly felt.
And she gets a little bit of sadness on her face. Right now, she's thinking about her parents.
I haven't exactly felt. I'm a little bit of a fish out of water here. I know I'm a strange one compared to most.
I am dealing with it a little better than I expected to. I don't know. Maybe it's the company.
He looks up at her and sort of gives her kind of a look of empathy, I suppose. And he sort of studies her face, seeing the sort of saddened expression. I'm sorry things haven't worked out as well for you as they might have done. You seem like a person that might have deserved more out of life.
She smiles. I appreciate that. I've made the most of it. My parents were killed in a car accident when I was still in vet school. Oh, it's been 10 years or so. Longer than that. Probably like 14.
He reaches over and takes her hand. Not really knowing what to say about that.
She'll allow that, and she kind of squeezes on his hand a little bit. The school was really understanding about it, and I was allowed to take 2 weeks without penalty to the program to get everything in order and grieve and stuff. my parents were always very supportive of everything that I did. I lived at home until I graduated uh, from university before I went to the vet school, the vet program. Uh, and even after they were gone, they made sure that my school was paid for and that I had money to live off of.
You've done them a great justice service by, yeah, I'm sure wherever they are, they're looking down saying, what a wonderful woman you are.
I hope so.
I'm sure of it.
Even though I'm technically dead.
Yes. How did, if you don't mind me asking?
Well,
you just seem like don't seem like a regular candidate, if you know what I mean.
it was more I pissed off the wrong person.
He raises an eyebrow.
A friend of mine convinced me to go out with her one night. It was a couple years after I graduated and been buried in my work, and she wanted me to loosen up and go out and have a good time, so I went out with her. And there was a guy that was hitting on me, and I was already a little drunk, so I went with it and flirted. And but when it was time to go home, I wanted to go home, and I didn't want him to go home with me, and he didn't like that too much. So he followed me and beat me up to the point where I was going to die completely if he didn't embrace me. So apparently he was kindred, and I only knew him by the name of Mad Dog. He was kind of a biker type.
You see that Arthur's, as you start telling the story, Arthur's body sort of tenses up. It's like a ripple of tension that starts somewhere sort of stomach to torso level and goes all the way up into his eyes, which sort of harden into this sort of embittered look. The story obviously makes him pretty angry.
So after a couple of weeks, I was obviously not thrilled with the situation. I was angry. I didn't want anything to do with him. And he left. He did tell me a few things that I needed to know, but I was definitely not happy about the situation that he put me in, which is one reason why I tried to just pretend like it didn't happen. Of course, I couldn't just pretend like it didn't happen because I need blood to survive and can't go out during the day. It took some convincing with my boss, but we came to an arrangement. I had to make up a very elaborate story as to why I couldn't work during the day anymore.
He's given her this sort of this look. It's kind of if his pupils could dilate, they'd be quite dilated. It's kind of a big sort of sympathy, empathy, affectionate look, I suppose.
You can tell that she's upset. Like, she's not upset to the point of crying or anything, but this definitely, it bothers her. It still bothers her to talk about it. But she feels comfortable with Arthur, so she wanted to let him in.
He says, how could life be so cruel to someone so beautiful?
She smiles. We get the cards we're dealt. Thank you for listening, though. Haven't been able to go to my support group, so I usually go a couple times a week, and it helps. But I haven't been able to go, so I needed to tell someone.
You can always talk to me. I'm not really an expert on things, but I've led quite a sheltered life. But I do my best.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
I think the embrace opened my eyes in a lot of ways. Beforehand, I didn't really know anything except study and books. I certainly didn't know people.
Well, I didn't socialize much except for people from school and work. Didn't go out, really. I kind of spent most of my life in school and pursuing my dream. I was always an animal lover, and I wanted to help them. So I was very determined to make that happen and didn't let anyone get in my way. The few that tried, well, they're no longer in my life.
It sounds like we were both very focused beforehand.
Yes, it appears that way. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have.
Oh no, I'm sure my parents might have tried to shove me in your direction. They were desperately trying to get me out of the house. And married with children. I suppose they knew that they weren't going to be around forever. And I needed somebody to look after me. So happened that the person they did choose was, well, she's herself. I can't really attest much to Lady Valerian unless you actually meet her, but she's put it this way, she's of the same class of the Queen that we met last night.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she's nowhere near as old or as prestigious, but she's of that particular era and that particular background, and so I was rather used to it.
Where is?
Gave me a bit of advantage last night.
Yeah, you were great. I wouldn't have known what to say to her.
Women like that are a bit like the sun. You don't ever look directly at them.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
My sire, she travels. She's an advisor, camera advisor, tactical advisor. So she's somewhere on the East Coast right now. I write to her, but
does she know about the situation here?
Yes. I was hoping that she might. Actually, I don't know whether I hope that she might grace us with her presence or I hope that she never does. I don't want her to be in in danger in any way. Um,
Of course. Of course, yeah. You definitely don't want anything happening to her. I'm glad
she's,
that that you have a better relationship with your sire than I had with mine.
well, she's like the schoolmistress I never had. Um, she taught me
Very,
everything. She taught me everything that I need to know, and about many things. And she is a
well,
great woman.
still, I guess I'm, well, not, I don't guess, I know that I'm still a little lacking in a lot of things when it comes to our little society. I think Isaac's gonna talk to me about some stuff and
He
help.
nods. Maybe see me a little bit jealous. Well, Isaac's an impressive chap. I'm sure anything you need to learn, you could learn from him.
Yeah, he said he's gonna teach me how to be gangrel.
I see. What does that mean?
Not exactly sure at the moment. um, Thinking that it means, learning how to play well with others.
Uh,
Things like that. Functioning as from what I understand, most gangrel are very pack oriented. They like wolves. They can be alone, but when they come together, it's as if they never left.
I understand. Well, I can't teach you anything about that, but if there's anything um, else that you need to know, then I can help you. Court etiquette and the like.
Yes, well, I definitely want to learn more about that side of things as well. I'm not much of a fighter, even though I apparently can. I would prefer not to if I can help it.
Oh, you and me both. Yeah. I prefer to make things, not to destroy.
Yeah. Yeah, and somebody's got to look out for the social side of things, right? We can't
Mm.
all go out with guns blazing.
Oh no. For a start, it ruins one's suits. I've destroyed 2 in the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
He's glad that he made her laugh. That's what his effort was. To see if he can make her smile.
Oh yeah, she's smiling and giggling a little bit at that. She finds that amusing.
He's still got hold of her hand. He just sort of clasps his hand around hers quite effortlessly because his hand is so much bigger than hers.
Oh yeah, his hand swallows her hand.
I'm sorry if Lady Whittaker made you uncomfortable last night. She was asking a lot of questions.
Yeah, uh, she's very forward. I guess I just wasn't prepared to deal with that kind of situation.
I suppose if a gentleman and a lady spend time in each other's company, people are bound to ask questions.
Of course they are. Let them ask. We all have to find something to keep us going in times like these.
Mm. Yes, gossip here and there.
People are gonna talk. That's never gonna change.
He gets a look on his face like he's thinking about something.
She
He
looks
says,
at him a little bit quizzically.
he shakes his head. Never mind. Whatever he was thinking about, he's probably obviously too nervous to act on it.
Well, she's noticed that he had something, and then when he shook his head and said, "Never mind," that just only intrigued her further. She's like, "What?" She moves a little closer to him as well as she says that.
Um, uh, she sort of gotten closer to him, and it seems to have sort of like he doesn't look uncomfortable with it, but he does sort of look like he doesn't know what to say. I just, yeah. Wondered if there was any foundation in Selena's questioning.
I like being around you, and I sort of go out of my way to be around you. So, yeah. Yeah. At least for me. And she's blushing now too, by the way.
He sort of does a weird nod. It's like one of those like, oh, but he's trying not to act to it nods.
And she hasn't let go of his hand either.
I'm not really an expert in people.
Neither am I. I'm an expert in animals.
Good point. I mean, I can talk the talk, you know.
Yeah.
I can play the game if I need to get somewhere for feeding and such. But actual, well, I'm not. You know what I mean.
She nods. Why don't we just admit that we enjoy each other's company and just see where it goes from there?
Yes. That sounds wonderful.
She smiles and squeezes his hand.
These times are so uncertain. None of us know whether we're going to make it from one night to the next.
That's very true. Very true.
I think that honesty is important.
It is.
In this sort of environment.
I think that too, which is why I like you. It's been a long time since I've been able to say that about someone.
This is a different
it appears that we are silent. I'm really not any good at monologuing, so we're just going to wait till she comes back. Well, if she doesn't make it back before this thing ends, Nikki will just kind of sit there and study Arthur. She's kind of relieved that he seems to feel the same way that she does. So hopefully things will go as well as they can given the circumstances that they're in. Yeah, that sounds good. So if she doesn't make it back, the scene will end there.